Welcome back to the channel, guys. Let's get straight into today's story. Keir Starmer is once again facing accusations that should concern anyone who cares about democracy, transparency and accountability. This time, it's not about taxes, migration or the economy. It's about something more fundamental: access to power and who gets to question it. Reports are now emerging that Starmer's government is tightening control over media briefings and restricting how journalists engage with Number 10. Critiques warning that this isn't just an administrative tidying up, but a deliberate move that chips away at democratic scrutiny. Under the new arrangements, traditional lobby briefings are being reshaped, with fewer spontaneous questions and more controlled messaging. Supporters argue it modernises communication and cuts out what they call Westminster theatre. But critiques see something very different. They see a government that's uncomfortable with challenge and increasingly hostile to scrutiny. When politicians start managing the press instead of answering them, alarm bells should start ringing. Now, this matters because the lobby system, flawed as it is, exists for a reason. It allows journalists from across the political spectrum to question those in power directly and publicly. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, and that's the point. Democracy isn't meant to be neat, it's meant to be noisy. Starmer, however, seems determined to quieten that noise. What makes this more concerning is the wider context. This is a government already accused of delaying local elections, centralising decision-making and governing through technocrat control rather than public consent. Add media restrictions to that list and a pattern starts to form. Power is being pulled upwards, not shared outwards. Again, Starmer's defenders will say this is being overblown, but no one is being censored and that journalists still have access. But access on the government's terms is not the same as accountability. If questions are filtered, if formats are controlled, and if uncomfortable lines of inquiry are discouraged, then scrutiny becomes theatre rather than substance. This is where trust erodes. The British public is already deeply sceptical of politics. Voter turnout is fragile, faith in institutions is low. The last thing this country needs is a Prime Minister who appears to believe that controlling the message is more important than answering hard questions. Transparency isn't a nuisance, it's a necessity. I think there's also an irony here. Labour spent years accusing previous governments of secrecy, spin and media manipulation. Now, with power in its hands, it's adopting the very tactics it once condemned. That hypocrisy will not go unnoticed. Governments don't earn trust by limiting scrutiny, they earn it by surviving it. And let's be honest about something else. When governments restrict media access, it's rarely because everything is going well. It's usually because they don't want difficult conversations dominating the news. Whether it's economic pressure, public sector unrest, migration failures, or internal party tensions, controlling the flow of questions makes life easier for those in charge. But easier for politicians usually means worse for democracy. This isn't about defending journalists, it's about defending the public's right to know. Journalists are imperfect messengers, but they are a vital link between government and citizens. Undermine that link and you weaken democratic oversight itself. History tells us that democratic erosion rarely happens overnight. It happens through small changes that are framed as sensible, efficient or modern. Fewer questions here, less access there, until suddenly accountability feels rather optional than essential. Starmer promised a new kind of politics. What voters are increasingly seeing is instead managerial control, cautious messaging and an instinct to close ranks when challenged. That may work in corporate boardrooms, but it has no place in a healthy democracy. This isn't about left versus right. It's about power versus accountability. Any government that treats scrutiny as a problem rather than a responsibility should be challenged very loudly. Because once transparency is weakened, it's very hard to restore, and by the time people realise what's been lost, it's often too late. Thanks for watching, guys. If you want more honest political commentary and don't want to miss what's really happening behind the headlines, hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts in the comments below.